As time passed and darkness approached, the unfortunate puppy that had been trapped in tar for several days had no hope of being rescued by anyone. Amidst the puppy's desperate whimpers and cries, his calls for help went unheard, and it seemed as though he was doomed to be left alone. However, just when things appeared bleak, an unexpected event occurred. Our current world is characterized by a fast-paced lifestyle that often lacks the warmth and compassion that humanity should embody. With an endless list of tasks to complete and destinations to reach, we tend to overlook the small things in life. The small details that we often overlook can have a significant impact on our daily lives. Consider how many individuals fail to notice those who are homeless and in need of assistance, or the stray dogs that are hungry and in desperate need of shelter. While one might argue that humans have greater control over protecting themselves, the same cannot be said for dogs that are left to suffer from starvation, neglect, and abuse on the streets. Despite the tendency to lead rushed lives and turn a blind eye to these issues, there are stories that can help restore our faith in humanity and demonstrate that hope is not lost. Such is the tale of a poor puppy that found itself in an unimaginable predicament. During 2019, a young puppy stumbled upon a patch of sticky tar in a remote location and became trapped. The helpless animal lay on its side, partially submerged in the black, viscous substance, crying out for aid. Sadly, the puppy was stranded in a desolate area with only trees and empty roads as its companions, and for several days, it howled for help, day and night. It looked like no one would hear or eventually find him in such a scarcely traveled part of town. A few people who traveled that road drove by too fast or were too busy to notice something was wrong, only a few feet from the road. No one saw the poor dog where he lay one hot afternoon as the sun beat down on the pup, and his breathing became even more shallow. Unlikely help came. It was a young girl and her teenage brother who had been taking a walk. The young girl, named Alice, and her brother Liam were on a walk when they ventured closer to the puppy where he lay in the ditch. At first, Alice didn't notice or hear anything as they skipped around and weaved around the trees. Faint whining stopped Alice in her tracks. "Liam, did you hear that?" she asked her brother. He had heard it too. They froze for a minute, waiting to hear the sound again, and there it was, faint and barely audible. But it was there, and they knew it couldn't be anything good. Alice and Liam sprang forward to locate the source of the sound, sure that it was a wounded animal. Their parents were not far behind, but the kids couldn't resist the tempting adventure. As they got closer to the source of the sound, the barking got more consistent and much louder. It soon led the siblings to a heart-wrenching sight. There, lying in a puddle of tar, was the little dog. From what they could see, pulling him out would be nearly impossible, and he was too weak even to get himself free. They needed to get help quickly. The kids ran to their parents, still strolling while talking, and frantically yelled to grab their attention. When the parents finally came around, they were horrified by the sight of the poor dog. He was unable to move, and all he could do was bark. Thankfully, this family of 4 had chosen to take a walk and explore this typically secluded part of town that day. Now that they had found him, they needed to find a way to help him. Unfortunately, they couldn't get him free on their own. They needed help. John Allison, Liam's father, quickly called for the town's Animal Rescue Foundation, Fluffy Animal Salvation. When the foundation officials got there, they couldn't believe their eyes. "The moment I arrived and saw that little dog lying in the tar, I couldn't control my emotions," Animal Rescue, Alina said. They guessed that the poor thing had gotten cold and tired and stumbled into the tar, looking for some warmth, unaware of the danger. They also estimated that the dog had been trapped in the tar for at least 3 days, but from the looks of it, he wouldn't have lasted another day if the children had not found him. Somehow fate made it so they would arrive in time to save this poor pup. While the rescuers worked to make the puppy comfortable and get him out of his sticky situation, they too soon realized the extraction would require more hands. They called in the fire department, who would bring in stronger tools to help break through the tar. As the team waited for the firefighters to arrive, they continued with their attempts to free the dog. A glimmer of hope appeared in his tired eyes, but time was slipping too fast. When the firefighters arrived, the animal rescuers had managed to free the dog's snout out of this tar. He could now breathe a little better and bark louder for help. He didn't try to bite or hurt them. It was like he could tell that they were all there to help get him out of the tar. Eventually, the pup's rescuers resorted to cutting away the parts of the puppy's fur that were trapped in the tar. With some oil, they were able to counteract the stickiness of the tar. It was a beautiful thing that all these humans, with their seemingly busy lives, stopped everything they were doing to help this one poor pooch. This seemingly small act of kindness was one the dog would probably never forget. The rescuers and firefighters continued working diligently to get off all the tar and free the canine. They were finally able to quickly relocate him to a vet clinic where he would be examined and treated for extreme hunger, dehydration, and exhaustion. Being trapped and barking for hours would do that to anyone. After a complete examination, the vet found and removed well over 100 ticks from the dog's body. He had wounds and sores all over his body and was sickly and thin. The vet treated his wounds and gave him several baths to remove the remaining tar that clung to his fur and paws. After the little dog was given a warm meal and a soft bed to rest in, soon he began to regain his strength and his wound started healing. One of the caregivers at the shelter named the pooch Lucky. Such a fitting name for a dog that had conquered such a seemingly impossible situation with sheer luck. Slowly, Lucky, the dog, got much better, and he soon became one of the shelter's most beloved dogs. While training him and playing with him, the staff recognized that this was a dog that had gone through so many bad things and had had it difficult. They showered him with love, care, and attention, and helped him become better socialized. Lucky became friends with so many other animals at the shelter. The change in this dog's demeanor was spectacular to watch. Alice, Liam, and their parents would come around to see the pup a few times on weekends. They would bring him treats and toys, and the kids would play with him and teach him new tricks. He treated them like he had known them for years. The gratitude in his behavior towards them was apparent. Unfortunately, the family could not adopt Lucky, but they did their best to let their friends and others know about him. Lucky's story was deeply moving, and many individuals couldn't help but acknowledge just how fortunate he was that day. Despite appearing weary and drained, Lucky's life had drastically improved from the days when he was lonely and wandering the streets without a home. The shelter arranged for him to be put up for adoption, with the hope of finding him a permanent and loving family. Several months later, a family consisting of a young boy named Adam and his parents visited the shelter in search of a new pet. As soon as Lucky and Adam locked eyes, an instant connection was formed between the two. Lucky was overjoyed and yapped enthusiastically as he bounded around his enclosure, spinning with glee. As the handlers approached to release him, he immediately fixated on Adam, wagging his tail and licking his face while circling his legs in anticipation of affection. Adam's parents recognized the strong bond between Lucky and their son and decided to adopt him as their beloved pet. Presently, Lucky the dog is residing with a caring family who provides him with a warm and welcoming home, plentiful meals, and an abundance of toys and treats beyond his wildest dreams. From the dire situation of being trapped in tar, struggling to survive, to discovering a loving family, Lucky has come a remarkable distance. I hope you liked this video. Please share and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.